Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and we got some big news in the Jeffrey Epstein case. First of all, in case you were wondering, no, the lawyers don't believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. So that's a thing. I mean, who does believe it? I'd love to know who is believing all this stuff. Man, my video is awful today. I'm sorry. Sometimes you do a restart and everything's just terrible. Let's just get into it because I got some big guests coming up today, but we'll get to that later. I hate how this article starts off because anybody with a brain is questioning what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. In the past 2 months, the swarm of conspiracy theories surrounding Jeffrey Epstein's death has not dissipated, really, despite New York City medical examiner Barbara Sampson's conclusion that he killed himself alone in his cell early on the morning of August 10th. Okay, skepticism about the official cause of Epstein's untimely death isn't confided to Twitter or gossip coworkers trying to avoid talking Trump. In court, Epstein's defense team said they have significant doubts regarding the conclusion of suicide. They argued that resolving the questions surrounding Epstein's death is vitally important, both to ensure the conditions improve for inmates Metropolitan Correctional Center and to bolster public confidence in the legal system. Plus, said attorney Martin Weinberg, we deeply want to know what happened to our client. So once again, the Epstein lawyers do not believe that he killed himself. They are bringing this up in court. This is an important revelation, as is some other important revelations we're about to get to. Number one, we have new people who have never been named by name, being named as co-conspirators in this case. Let me repeat that. We have two new names. One person is deceased, one person is not, and in this new suit, there's more to this suit. We're going to get to that right now. Jeffrey Epstein's, this is a different woman, obviously, than Virginia Giuffre Roberts, who we refer to often. This is Jennifer Araz. She has new court papers, and these are the names right here. Rosalind Fontanella, who is a former housekeeper who died in 2016. Remember the indictment. It talked about a network, an enterprise of people that worked for Epstein well beyond Leslie Groff and Sarah Kalin and Nadia Marcinkova. I believe Kalin and Groff are the other two people that have been named before. But we now have Kimberly Espinoza, a former executive Epstein assistant. So we have two new names. We have the lawyers contending in court that Epstein did not kill himself. Now, there's a lot of other things going on. Right now, there's a big court battle as to what's going to happen with the Zorro Ranch and whether or not the leases to the companies like Cypress that have a subcontracting plot on a lot of this will stand. I hope they don't. I hope everything that happens right now, you start looking at the companies that were doing business with this guy and how they were doing business and what exactly they were doing there. Since we now know that Epstein was heavily involved in tech at the end of his, I guess you could call it cartel crime spree, right? After that conviction, he really started to move into the tech industry. We'll get into that in a second. And rebrand himself as not just this Wall Street guy, right? And not just as this globalist and possible arms dealer, but as a tech guy. So right now, big court battles there. And then I want to point out how because of his investment in big technology, and, you know, I don't even want to get into the Kavanaugh debate. That's not what this video is. But this is a pretty good example. It's short. You can read it. But it's a great example of how big tech went after Kavanaugh just like vipers. Like boom, 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 boom. But who did they protect? Serial pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Long after that Palm Beach conviction. So this is just a really good piece on how to show you the double standards and the manipulation of the media. For instance, this is a really, this one's extensive. This one will take you a while. article showing the hypocrisy and how women within the MIT media labs were trying to speak out. They didn't want Jeffrey Epstein's funding, but they had to ultimately use it. They had to ultimately use it. They didn't have a choice. And when you get to his ties to Harvard, right now, I just want to let you guys know, everybody's trying to make it look real good, Harvard in particular. This is the Crimson, talking about how they're going to have to retain external counsel to assist in the Epstein internal review scandal. So as more and more people look at the ties of Harvard University and Epstein, internally, mind you, an internal investigation, well, we better get some lawyers. We wouldn't want those people within our university to expose what actually happened. We wouldn't want any underlings to dare question Harvard's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And maybe even Larry Summers, another Harvard alum that Epstein was doing business with and was in the Council on Foreign Relations with. Little Clinton ally there, huh? Bilderberger, no big deal. So again, people trying to put a good face on this or trying to put out their mea culpas, right? So here, the Hasty Pudding Institute, right? They had huge funds from Epstein. And now they have a $50,000 donation to anti-sex trafficking nonprofits. It's all about optics. It's all about visuals. It's actually about suppressing the actual stories that matter. The fact that the lawyers are looking into whether he actually killed himself in court. The fact that we have two new huge names in that enterprise. And more women are going to come forward. And if we get those 10,000 pages in that original lawsuit from Guthrie Roberts, right? It won't just be George Mitchell and Glenn Dubin and Governor Bill Richardson that get named. Apparently, they're talking about 1,000 names. Hundreds of names. This is huge. These should still be seeping into our headlines everywhere. Instead, all of this stuff is kind of now pushed back and on the outskirts, and everything is Ukraine, Trump impeachment, or arrests, big time hype around a scandal that's another one of these propagated left, right, Russiagate type scandals that lets you pick sides in this false paradigm and isn't really about that predator class structure that encompasses both that we talk about here. And getting to that, lawyers for Jennifer Araz, who we just talked about, who named two more people, remember? And we'll get to those names again. Let's just fly right back to those names really quickly. Those new names, okay, and we want to get them right. It is Kimberly Espinosa, a former executive assistant. She's still alive. And Rosalind Fontanella, who is no longer alive. But she has hired a private investigator to try to find Ghislaine Maxwell, the person who was reported to be on the East Coast in Massachusetts outside of Boston, and then just as quickly reported to be on the West Coast out in L.A. And now we just can't find her. We don't know where Miss Maxwell is. Weird. Huh. That's interesting. So we got private investigators looking for this woman. We know that she is literally his right hand. Had a relationship with her for over 20 plus years in doing this type of thing. I mean, you know what? I don't want to misspeak. I think they were introduced in the late 90s. So this going on, through 2010, 2011, 2012, let's say easily a decade plus long relationship, more than likely a 20-year plus relationship. And we can't find her. Named by all the victims, 30 plus in that Palm Beach suit. Now we have more and more victims and more names coming out. So I just want to remind people what we started with here. In court, the lawyers are still questioning whether or not Epstein killed himself. And I know a lot of you out there do not believe that. And even if you do believe it, you believe he was at least allowed to do it. I know there are people out there that still think that this guy got moved out and he's alive. Anything's possible with this crazy case. I tend to think he is gone no matter what, and we will never hear from him. But hey, You never know. Who knows? Maybe they snuck him out. I'm much more under the impression that he was probably killed. The cameras don't work. The guard's asleep. They're not around. They're not doing their duty. I mean, it's ridiculous to believe the official version. I am a documentary filmmaker. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, and New World Order Defined, and Shade the Motion Picture, all free on this channel. Make sure to thumbs this video up right now. Share it with others. Put it on the social media, as the kids say. And if you're not subscribed to the Burmese Brigade, we're doing real news about real issues that you're not hearing about elsewhere. In fact, coming up in about 30 minutes, I'm going to have Tiffany, I always mess up her last name, Tiffany Fitzhenry, who has an amazing blog, and we're going to be talking about Dan Schneider, Nickelodeon, and really, not a great network, guys. Not the best people out there. So we're going to do that. I'm going to talk to you guys on the flip side. Remember to subscribe. I'm doing 3 to 7 videos a day on subjects that matter. And I have a GoFundMe. $5, $10, $15. It means the world to me. We're really trying to make it here. Nick says Maxwell was very familiar with eggpeen for decades. So she should have been under lock and key before day one. Damn straight. Damn straight. So guys, this is how I'm doing it. So please, if you want to support my work, if you want this voice to continue, consider giving some finances. It really helps me. It's what puts me in this seat to go through all these articles, make connections. We're also going to have a 4:30 interview with Christy from the free Julian Assange visuals that are taking place every Wednesday night. So we're trying to do it big with your help. I love you guys, and I will see you on the flip side.